Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Ask Jimmy Smith. Today, I'm excited to be talking to you about private label selling on Amazon and specifically 9 common myths that I see out there on the interwebs, so to speak, about private label selling on Amazon and from a new seller perspective. There's tons of ways that you can sell products on Amazon. And I wanted to talk to the new sellers out there, at least somebody that hasn't been selling on Amazon before and they're considering getting into it. And they just keep seeing all this information about private labels specifically and why they should start. And I wanted to go through the 9 common myths as to potentially why private label isn't the best place to start for new Amazon sellers. So forgive me today, by the way, I've got a little allergy thing going, so my voice is a little off. I apologize. Let me start off before I get into the myths with discussing what private label is, just a brief overview for anybody that doesn't know that might be watching this video. So private label is essentially buying products from either another manufacturer or distributor of some sort and having your label, your brand printed onto that product's label, and then you sell it on Amazon. That's the most basic way that I can talk about private label from an Amazon perspective. Technically, you can sell it on your own website. You can sell it, wholesale. You can do whatever you want, but so many different products are created as private label brands that we might not realize are private label brands, which I could probably do a whole separate video on that. But the purpose of today's video is to bust some of those myths regarding creating your own products to sell on Amazon. So myth number 1 is that you have to start selling private label products on Amazon, that there's no other opportunities out there that are worth pursuing from an Amazon selling perspective. And that is a complete myth. There's so many different ways to sell on Amazon. I actually did a video recently with 7 different ways that you can make money utilizing the Amazon platform, and only 2 of them required purchasing inventory up front. The other 5 required no money up front. But there's 3 common ways to sell on Amazon. And one is private label and brand building. The second one is wholesale, which is contacting distributors and brands to work with them directly and selling their products on the Amazon platform. And then the third one is arbitrage and ultimately buying products from a retail store or an online store and selling them for more money on the Amazon platform. And that's the one that I typically like to see for new sellers. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But ultimately, those are the 3 main ways to sell on Amazon. There's other things you can do, from bundling to merch to selling KDP and books and things like that, which I covered in those other videos, the 7 different Amazon income streams that I believe you could start with. But ultimately, you do not have to start with private label. And it's because of these other myths that I believe there's so many issues with new sellers, that they're looking for a side hustle, they're looking for a stream of income, and they come upon this Amazon selling thing. And most people talk about private label because they I don't know, are selling their massive course, or because they think that it is truly the best way, whatever it might be. But ultimately, you don't have to start with private label. And so myth number 2 is that it's the only way to make real money on Amazon. And so this is a reason that I see a lot of course creators and content creators talk about private label, because they ultimately believe that this is the only way to make a lot of money on the Amazon.com platform by selling your own products. And yes, you can create high profit margin products that you can sell on Amazon, but there are other ways to make a lot of money using Amazon.com and specifically the FBA program, the Fulfillment by Amazon program, to sell other people's physical products on the platform. Wholesale is an excellent opportunity. It's one of my favorite ways. And then arbitrage, if you're a new seller, specifically replens arbitrage, is the way to go if you're trying to get to know the platform of Amazon.com or whatever marketplace you're looking to sell on, because you can actually make quite a bit of money doing arbitrage. And in my opinion, it is the lowest hanging fruit opportunity. It's also the one that gets you the fastest return on your money, because you're able to find products for $5, let's say, and sell them for $15 on Amazon.com. And you only tested 2 or 3 of those products. You only bought 2 or 3 of those products to send to Amazon, instead of having to buy 100 or 1,000 and doing bigger orders for your private label products. There's no inventory. There's no advertising required for your inventory. There's so much opportunity from an arbitrage perspective if you learn to do it properly, to where you can make a lot of money. So Our personal business, we started back in December 2015. We started with arbitrage. We've grown our arbitrage business and got into replenishable products, which I talk about in this YouTube channel. But with those replenishable products, we were able to grow and scale to a 7-figure per year business. We do over $100,000 per month with multiple employees that help us to run and operate this business. And we've trained tons of people, which I'll get to here in a little bit, on how to do this from a low-hanging fruit opportunity, because there's so much less risk getting into it. Plus, you also have the opportunity to learn about the Amazon platform. And then further along in your journey, you can add wholesale and add private label to your business. So the third myth that I see is that there's no competition, right? You can get on to any listing, or you can create your own listing on Amazon, and you won't have any other sellers that are jumping on it because it's your own private label product. Nobody else has access to it. That is a very common myth. Yes, technically, if you get into the brand registry program and you can avoid other sellers getting your actual product, there won't be any competition on your specific listing, but there will be competition with other sellers of similar products on the listing. Not just other sellers of similar products, but technically your competition is any product on Amazon, because you're trying to compete with the products that are selling on Amazon. So maybe someone is looking for a dog collar that you decide to sell, but instead of a dog collar, you're also competing against all the other leashes out there, all of the harnesses out there. There's so many different things that are vying for Amazon's customers' attention. And if you've got a dog collar, you're going to be competing with other things as well, in addition to the other dog collars in that space. So there's a ton of competition that you have to deal with. And the way to beat that is through advertising, through creating a brand, through social media, through influencers. But that's a lot of work. It's a lot of things that you have to do and that you have to learn. If you've never sold on the Amazon platform, to me, that is not the best way to get started. So myth number 4 is that there's no price wars. And I hear that all the time, right? If you're selling on your own listing, well, nobody's going to compete with you on price. At least on your own listing, which is true, right? If nobody jumps onto your listing, then they won't be competing with you on price. But all those other listings, all your other competition has different pricing issues, right? They ultimately will lower their prices because they're trying to clear out certain products to bring in a new line, or maybe they're trying to compete and get that first coveted spot on the first page of the search results. So they're going to lower their price and get a lot less money, or maybe break even, or even lose a little bit of money, so that then they can get some customer information to sell them other things down the road. There's so much that goes into private label that you're still going to have price wars and competing with your other competition that's out there selling the same or similar products as you. So myth number 5 is that you won't get any intellectual property complaints or performance account health issues in your selling account. And I've heard this before, that with arbitrage and sometimes wholesale, you can experience all these performance issues. You're going to have brands contacting you with IP claims. They're going to be contacting you with counterfeit claims. You won't get that with private label. And in some cases, you won't get it with wholesale. And yes, you do get those with arbitrage, but you also get those with wholesale, and you also get those with private label products. And I have seen sellers that had brands up that were their own, and then they got their listings shut down for IP complaints because of some way that they used a word that maybe was trademarked in their listing and they didn't realize it. Or some other opportunity or some other mistake that they made when creating that listing. So hopefully you can avoid those things. Hopefully that's something that you can do some extra work to make sure you don't have any trademarked terms in your listing. But if you accidentally don't know about a specific term being trademarked, well, then you're going to have troubles on your listing specifically. Additionally, you might get people that complain about the quality of the product depending on your supplier. So you're going to have to vet that. So you're going to have different complaints and performance account health issues to deal with no matter what you do. There are also bad other sellers on the Amazon platform that can try to take advantage of the performance issue account health section of your Amazon account. And so they can always file false IP claims against your account. So there's tons of different things that can happen, but ultimately you still have that risk no matter what type of business model you decide to do on the Amazon platform. Myth number 6 is that anyone can do it. Now, yes, I am someone that believes that if you put your mind to something, you can do it with enough time and practice and ultimately trying to get proficient at it. But I don't believe that anyone can just start on the Amazon platform, learn how everything works, from sending an inventory to performance issues to making sure that you're not dealing with any IP issues, to advertising on Amazon, to contacting influencers, to creating a brand and something that people want to rally around, to getting brand registered and getting trademarked and all of these other things. I personally don't believe that anyone can do that right out the gate. I do think that anyone can do that eventually, but it should be more of a slower process where you're learning about the platform, you're getting used to what sells on the platform without any risk, and then you're ultimately moving into a place of having more knowledge, so that then you can take that knowledge and use it to create your private label brands in the future. So yes, technically anyone can do it, but to me, I have seen so many horror stories from private label sellers that were brand new, bought $10,000 worth of inventory because some course told them to, and then they got stuck with all these units because they couldn't get them to sell, even though they followed all the other advice within the program. So I really struggle with the fact that anyone can do it. Technically, yes, that's true. But also technically, I don't believe that's the case. And there's better ways to get into selling on private label on Amazon than just jumping into it right out the gate, because there's so much that you need to learn, especially in today's more complex Amazon selling environment. There's a ton of stuff that you need to learn to make sure that you're successful with your private label products, or even that you should launch any of them on the platform to begin with. So myth number 7 is that you should source your products from China. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, China's the cheapest place to get it. Yes, there's some supply chain issues right now with shipping and whatnot, but typically China's still the cheapest place to get it. You're going to get good quality. You're going to have all these amazing, products that you can buy there that are cheaper than you would buy in the United States or whatever country you're in, and that you should just source your products from there. Go to AliExpress, go to Alibaba.com and see what suppliers have, and just put your label on it and send it into Amazon. And while, yes, you can source products from China, and there are great manufacturers that you can utilize from China, ultimately, you're going to have potentially more issues sourcing from China than you would sourcing from your local country. Yes, you might be ultimately able to save some money sourcing from China, but the quality can sometimes be a lot less. It's going to be harder to check for quality. It's going to be harder to know that there's a long-standing history with that manufacturer. You can do a lot of checking. You can pay people to check in China for you, and actual private label sourcing companies that will do that for you. But I believe it's best to purchase locally within your business, because then you're working with local manufacturers first and foremost. You can typically put that in your listing. Let's say for the United States, you can say it's made in the USA, which people love to rally around and support. You can do so much more having a local manufacturer than you can with somebody in China. Also, you don't have to deal with the shipping headaches that can come from China, where they have to ship it overseas, or they have to do it by air, and then there's import fees and there's difficulties with customs. There's so many different things that you have to deal with and complexities. So if you do decide to do private label, I highly recommend making your product more expensive and sourcing from a United States or your local country supplier. If you're in the UK, source from the UK. If you're in Canada, source from Canada, etc. So that's my personal recommendation. But again, myth number 7 was that anyone can source from China. And yes, you can, but I don't believe it's advisable if you're trying to start a quality private label brand moving forward with on Amazon. So myth number 8 is that you have to source large orders. And I've seen a lot of people say that, hey, go find a product and try to source as few as you can, 100 or so, but typically you're going to have to buy 500 or 1,000, especially if you're sourcing from China. So that's another issue whenever you're sourcing from international companies, is that you're going to have to deal with a much larger order quantity, because ultimately they want to do a bigger run rate, a bigger manufacturing rate, so that then your costs can be lower. And then the shipping to the United States or wherever you're at is going to ultimately be cheaper per piece. So it makes more sense if you're ordering internationally to have large orders. But if you order from United States or local country suppliers, wherever you live, then you can typically source smaller orders, because the shipping is not as expensive in your own country. It's also typically going to be ultimately a better quality that you can have, because it's something that you can easily test out, and you can more easily get samples of the products and make sure that everything is of the utmost quality that you want. But you can typically order smaller orders because they're within your own country. And so additionally, what I recommend, there's actually a course that I recommend if you are going to do private label right out the gate anyway. It's called Private Label, the easy way, or proven private label. I'll actually put a link in the description for you so that you can click on that and check it out. But in that proven private label program, they talk about making sure that you can buy small test quantities of orders. You can contact local manufacturers and you can say, hey, if I buy this product from you, can I remove your label that it comes with typically and put my own label on it? And there are a lot of manufacturers that will allow you to do that. And it's typically you're buying from distributors or wholesale companies instead of an actual manufacturer, but you get the opportunity to do that so you can test out your private label product and idea in a much safer and less cost risk environment, right? You're not risking as much money on that type of a thing because you can typically buy a case or two and then just do that with your own label. So it requires a little bit more work on your end from a standpoint of attaching your own label and removing the other one. But if you can do that and test out a product, see if the private label product is going to take off before you place bigger orders with the manufacturer, then you're ultimately going to be better off for it. And myth number 9 is that private label is newbie friendly, that it's new seller friendly. So that's why this was for new sellers, because it is an excellent business model on Amazon. Again, we sell private label products. We've done it for years, but I don't recommend that you start that way. And typically, what I recommend that you do is you start with Amazon arbitrage, replens arbitrage specifically, which is what I've had the pleasure, the blessing, the honor of being able to have over 1,000 success stories come through my replens arbitrage program. And you can actually see over 500 of them at AskJimmySmith.com/success. So you know I'm not making it up. There's over 500 images for you that people posted in our private Facebook group for it. Now, you can go there. The link's in the description as well. But I also have a book, my second edition of my book that just came out. It's called Side Hustle to Full-Time Income. There we go. Went ahead and zoomed in on it. But so this is my book. It's over 240 pages of basically how to start from $0 and grow it to over $100,000 per month and how you can do that. So I highly recommend checking that out. I also have a course at my website at AskJimmySmith.com. You can check that out as well. But again, we've had over 1,000 success stories from it. And the great thing is that you can start with $100 and you don't have to know anything about advertising. You don't have to know anything about your branding or about other listings. You're looking at specific listings from products that are already selling on Amazon that you're competing with other sellers on based off of the history that we get from Keepa.com, which I've done plenty of videos about Keepa on this YouTube channel. You can check them out here as well. So I highly recommend checking that out. So that concludes my 9 myths about private label selling for Amazon or on Amazon for new sellers. If you have any comments, are there any other myths that you've encountered, please post them below. Do you have any questions about private label selling or any questions about Amazon replens arbitrage selling and the success stories that we've seen come from that? Please reach out to me. Please let me know. And I also ask that you would like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me to know that I'm doing a good job, and it also helps get the word out to more people. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that this blessed you. I hope you have a great rest of your day and have a blessed rest of your week.